Okay. Hi guys, my name's Jolene, and I'm going to give it a little bit of time for you guys to get on. But if this ends up being something that you watch later, that's awesome. And I'm looking at my screen over here because I'm checking myself out live on your team wall, which is hilarious. But I also have a bunch of notes over here, and I want to make sure that I hit the right points as I'm speaking with you today. So we're just going to give it a little bit of time to see if anybody pops on. And if not, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my content with you. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you can go ahead and type them in, and then I'm going to answer them later. Otherwise, I'm going to be like completely double-minded. So I just want to thank you guys for inviting me to be on your team call. I don't know if you guys know how Mindy and I know each other, but we're both on the round table, aka used to be called the wall, 5 stars and above. And I don't even remember which posts she was, what we were talking about in that group when she asked if I would come on and share. And I immediately said, of course, this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And I would be glad to share what I know with anybody, so that we can all do our best work here with Team Beachbody. So I'm going to go ahead and begin sharing my content with you. And again, when you go back and watch this, those of you who cannot be on live, when you go back and watch this, hopefully Mindy will just keep me on the page for maybe a day or two. And then if you have questions and you want to type them in, I would be glad to answer them. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of background first. And again, I'm going to go to my notes. I'm a big note writer so that I can give you the best information ever. So who am I? So, my name is Joline Atkins. I have been a coach with Beachbody since 2010. So I almost feel like one of the old guys. I started at the age of 41. So you can do the math. I'm now 48. So I've been a coach since 2010. I became a fitness instructor at 45. So I feel like I just started a new career in like the second half of my life, which tells you anybody can do it. I have gathered a number of oh good, now I'm seeing people come on. That's awesome. I've gathered a number of extra certifications along the way. When I became a Beachbody coach, I never intended to teach classes or write a health and wellness column for the newspaper. I even had a wellness show for our newspaper. That was not the plan. There really was no plan other than to finish ChaLEAN Extreme and to drop the weight that I had lost from a state to state move, the stress of that move. And that was it. That was the goal. So where this has brought me is a bit astounding and surprising, to be quite honest. So I ended up getting certified to teach P90X and PIO, but then I went on to get some national group fitness certifications, wellness coach certification, and something called lifestyle weight management, which I've based my team's 30-day wellness course off of. So I went on to do all of that, and now I'm in the middle of a fitness nutrition certification. And guys, I am not a great student. I just love information. So testing on those things is like hives, total hives. And then interestingly enough, my husband used to be a pastor, but now he's a therapist. And we joke that we're both in professions where we're helping people get unstuck. That's kind of our goal. He works with people with anxiety and marriage and family counseling. I'm working with people who really need to find some freedom in this whole, I got to get healthy journey. There's a lot of shackles to it. And I hope what I share with you today helps you to navigate better, how to set people up for success. As I'm talking, you're probably gonna see that I take a different approach to Beachbody. So even though I'm a 2-time elite Beachbody coach, I'm a Success Club 10 legend. There's all of those little Beachbody accolades and things to celebrate. But I still feel like sometimes I'm a bit of a fringer and I approach the business differently only because my mindset is coming from a wellness coach mindset as opposed to just starting with our products, which doesn't mean that those two can't dovetail. They work together beautifully. But I think the ability to take a wellness mindset and products and to graft them together, I think it really takes a better understanding of the stages of readiness that somebody goes through before they make a decision to even hop on board with a program or with containers or with BOD or with coaching, whatever. So I take a different approach. I just wrote on the round table wall, that, darn it, I'm a damn good coach. When it comes to helping people, I know my stuff. When it comes to network marketing, I'm probably not as strong as I am as a coach, but I am making this a full-time career with a full-time income. So something is clicking, and I actually believe it's my approach with customers that is making it click. I'm looking at notes, just so if you're like, what does she keep looking at? I'm looking at notes. So I have this overall goal. My goal is to help people find peace and hope and freedom and sustainability on their journey to adopt a healthier lifestyle. And I am not a fan of fads. I want to bust them. I'm not a fan of unrealistic expectations. And what I really want to do is help people set up behaviors in their life that will be long-term, have long-term positive effects, as opposed to them continually being on this roller coaster, or sometimes I call it the cul-de-sac. I remember being envious of kids who grew up in a cul-de-sac because they could just kind of ride the cul-de-sac. But then as I got older, I was like, do they ever leave the cul-de-sac, or they just go round and round and round? Sometimes I feel like that's the wheel that people are on who are trying to get healthier. So Beachbody products definitely get people off that wheel. Portion Fix is brilliant. I even tweak that just a little bit to provide a little bit of freedom and flexibility. That's a totally different call. And obviously our fitness programs are top notch. And thankfully I know all of this personally because I started as a customer, so ChaLEAN Extreme did it for me and I was hooked. So that the products alone are a way to get people off of that roller coaster. But I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think that is the first way to get someone off of the roller coaster. And we'll go into that information. So 10 months ago, I took a course in which I got certified as what's called a lifestyle weight management specialist. It's a ridiculous title. And what I did from that is I designed a wellness course based on all of that content. And that is what we use as our challenge group now for my team. I have a free group for anybody who just wants to work with me, and I have a challenge group, which is a most definite paid group because you're getting content and BOD challenge pack and the whole 9 yards. But to join that group, I have a really specific questionnaire, almost like an intake form that you would fill out anywhere. If you went to your doctor, if you went to a massage therapist, if you went to a chiropractor, there's an intake form, right? So I developed an intake form, and I actually took a lot of questions. If you guys have ever heard of Andrea Crowder, she's a coach in Beachbody. And I actually took a lot of questions from a presentation she did, and I worked it into this intake form. So I created a questionnaire, and that questionnaire really helps me to discern whether or not someone is ready to take the next step, because I will be flat out blunt. I only want to work with people who are ready. And I know that sounds like duh, but I don't want to work with anyone that I have to convince or manipulate that our products are so good that they should just hop on board. Though, and again, I'm looking at my notes in case you're hopping on now and you're like, why is she looking away? Those who aren't ready don't prove to give us good reviews on the back end. Let's be honest. If someone bought 21 Day Fix, but they just kind of bought it on a whim because it seemed like an easy thing to do, and then they end up maybe doing it, excuse my language, half-assed, and then at the end, on the back end, they're like, well, that thing didn't work. They will tell so many people that it didn't work, right? That's the type of person that I'm not willing to work with. at this point. That sounds very callous, but I don't mean it for it to sound callous. Unfortunately, if somebody gives up or doesn't follow through, or even in the middle of it decides it's not for them, they're going to be very vocal about that. But the questions that I ask them on the front end really help for me to discern if that person is ready or they're just kind of not so sure. And if they're not so sure, I'm not going to push back. And that's one of the reasons why I think I've had really successful groups. And what I mean by successful groups are people who are making some amazing physical changes. I wish in live I could pop up pictures and show you, but can't do that. So when someone tells me, when I invite someone and they tell me no, depending on some of the cues that they give me, I may not even try to push back on their objection. I may just let them go. Instead, and what I do instead is I ask a lot of questions. And then what I do is I suggest the appropriate product for them. The questions, oh goodness, I may have to plug in my phone. The questions help me discern the stage of readiness. And the stage of readiness ultimately tells me some of those inner behaviors that they have that may need to change. And until those inner behaviors change, one's ability to stick to the outer stuff, the fitness and the nutrition, is going to be really tough. So I deal with the inner stuff. Okay. So disclaimer about sales. And I'm actually panicking right now and wondering if I should plug in my phone. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'm going to plug in my phone and hold it, because if this totally turns off while I'm with you, then we've done no good. So sorry about that. Okay. So here's my disclaimer. The disclaimer is that while Success Club is always a goal for me because it's an amazing barometer and it is a target for me to hit, there may be some people who are just not ready for that larger package. And that's based upon the answers to the questions that I ask them. Because there are those who communicate interest, right? So they'll come to you and they'll communicate interest. And as they answer those questions for me, I see that maybe they're only ready for Clean Week, which is a brilliant program. Or maybe they're only ready for Portion Fix, or maybe they're only ready for Beachbody on Demand. And I have to swallow that and be like, that is okay. Because in the business side of things, it is bringing in a new customer and it's bringing in volume. It's also bringing in the challenge to me to be the best coach I can be to lead them on to the next step. So the responsibility that I feel, even if someone, after answering those questions, and maybe I suggest they just start with Portion Fix, the onus is on me to do a really good job as a coach so that I can encourage them to move on to the next step, right? So don't assume that someone who maybe is just purchasing Portion Fix or Clean Week or BOD is a business fail. It brings in volume, puts the responsibility on us. It builds trust between the customer and me so that they can get to know who I am as a coach. It gives them a great introduction to the entire world of Beachbody. That's why I structure my team to make sure we have like a Clean Week group at the beginning of the month, and then my bigger investment group at the end of the month. But first, in order to even get to the point of them ordering anything, we have to learn how to listen. And that's where the stages of readiness come in, and whether or not someone is literally motivated and ready to take a step, because we can present product after product after product, and honestly, they may not be ready. So I'm going to take you through what the stages of readiness are. That was a really long introduction, and I even dropped my phone in the middle of it. So I'm really glad those of you who are here are sticking with it. But let's go through what the stages of readiness are. So let me explain it first. The stages of readiness is a way to discern where someone is on a cycle of being motivated to make change. Okay. It's a continuum, and it's not a straight line. So there's 5 stages of readiness. And for me, and we'll go through all of these, but for me, I go back and forth between maintenance and action, and we'll learn what those are in just a minute. But when we don't understand what stage someone is, we risk them being non-compliant. So we risk them falling off the wagon, right? If we don't understand what stage they're in and really work with them in that stage. Okay. Plug it in my phone again. Oh, I have an old phone. Really old. I'm embarrassed to say, but it works, right? And if we push someone at a faster pace than they're ready for, they may relapse. So it's really important for us to discern through the questions. And I'm going to actually put the questions up for you later, the questions that I asked to discern where they are in this process so that I can suggest for them the most appropriate product for them and where to start, but also to discern overall if they're even ready to work with us. Because let's face it, some people aren't. And that's important for us to recognize. So the first stage of readiness is called pre-contemplative. There's a lot of people out there who are pre-contemplative. You may invite them to something and they ignore your message. Okay. You may invite them to something and they answer, maybe they're a little hostile or defensive. They don't even realize that change is necessary in their life. They don't even recognize that at this point. So it's really important for if you're getting that type of feedback to someone to not take it personally because they're not ready. And they don't even know that there are changes that need to be made. They don't even recognize that they may be on an unhealthy path. And so the most important thing we can do with someone like that is to love them and to be their friend. Be their friend and to establish trust and rapport and be really impeccable with our word, and to share smart content on our Facebook pages. But know that these people, they're going to say no. They're going to flat out say no. They're called pre-contemplative. I'm going to give you a couple of good details about them. Okay, so they're not even considering change. They're unwilling to change. And so it's so important that we establish rapport, we build trust. Perhaps we can even chat about some of the doubts that they may have. We can express concern, but know that pre-contemplative people are really ready to begin. And this is the type of person that I would not push to buy a challenge pack. This is the type of person that I wouldn't push past this stage because it may just push them farther away. Okay, so know that. The second stage is called contemplative. We're getting a little bit more positive feedback here. So they may answer your invite. They may even ask for more information. But when you ask them some questions, when you push for some details from them, they may be really ambivalent. Okay. Really general answers, things like, well, I want to get healthy, which ultimately really means nothing, or I need to eat better, or I need to exercise more, but they're not willing to really give you, nor do I think they even know, they're not willing to chat details. Okay. So they're not willing to chat, what specifically needs to change in order for them to be healthier. So that particular person knows that there are concerns, okay? They know that they need to change, different from the pre-contemplative person. But being ambivalent is pretty normal, you know? They may try to follow a trend here or there. They may talk a lot about, I got to get motivated, but they're still not taking steps. But there's more of a chance for them to maybe try clean week. You know, because that's a very low commitment. There's that free commitment of just doing the workouts, or as our team does it, we do the $30 with the Shakeology. But know that they're still not in a place of full compliance because they're not able to communicate specifics of what it is they need or why they need it. Okay, so that's pre-contemplative. So here's the people I like to work with, and they are in the preparation stage. The preparation stage is where they begin to answer specific questions about what it is they need. You may be hearing someone say something like, I need to lose 10 pounds to be healthier for my family. They begin to communicate the why. And we as coaches all know how important it is to have a why, because the why serves as a foundation for all of our actions. The why is an internal statement that drives our external behaviors, right? So the person in the preparation stage may begin to plan some first steps. They may listen to your appropriate recommendation. They may take it. They're really set on getting a plan of action. Okay, they're more motivated certainly than the pre-contemplative person or the contemplative person. And I would describe them as they're committed, they're planning, they want to make a change, but they may not exactly know what to do. And that's where you come in as the coach, and you've got to give them a recommendation that is appropriate for them. For example, you have someone who for the first time, she or he have never moved before. And even though, let's go back to when 22-minute hardcore came out. Even though 22-minute hardcore came out and that was like all the rage, what if you have someone who's never moved before? That may not be the best first step for them, right? The best first step for them maybe would have been P90 or even Turbo Jam, the old Turbo Jam. So really making sure that you design a recommendation that's based upon where they are so that they will be encouraged. Okay, you're going to explore different things to help them. You're going to talk through a plan. You're going to consider what it is that's going to hold them back. I like to ask, when you don't show up in our challenge group app, what question should I ask you? What do you want me to ask you? Because what is the barrier that's most likely holding you back right now? And let them voice that. And you're going to give them support. So people in the preparation stage are ready to roll. They will probably buy a challenge pack from you and be so excited to get ready. And then you really got to lock arms with them because we want to get them to the next stage, which is called the action stage. And that's where I am. I go between action and maintenance. This person's in the group. They're participating. They may even make a great coach someday. They're addressing triggers and things that are going to help them to maintain this behavior for the long term. They are in it to win it, and they make great challengers. They're taking active steps, but they haven't yet reached a stable state. That was me when I started ChaLEAN Extreme back in 2010. I really had to get through that 90 days, and then it was stable. It was my lifestyle. So you want to engage them in your challenge groups. You want to acknowledge that sometimes it's going to be difficult. It's not always easy. And you want to help them to identify things that might bump them off the wagon, right? What are the triggers and barriers that might prove to be difficult? What kind of obstacles, and help them to overcome those obstacles. And then the last stage of readiness is called maintenance. And I think many of us who have been coaches for a while, we're in that maintenance stage. And in the maintenance stage, we like to encourage people, especially challengers in our group, to turn around and become coaches. We've got long-term adherence, meaning I'm going to work out at least 5 times a week. I try to eat healthy. I drink my Shakeology. These are things that are now innate in me. And ultimately, this is where we want to get people to land. They've achieved those initial goals, and now they're working to maintain. There's lifestyle changes, not just event changes for an event. And now they could turn around and help someone to support someone through their program, support someone through a group, right? And they've got long-term goals that they're hitting, and it's pretty darn exciting, So you've got pre-contemplative, contemplative, preparation, action, and maintenance. But how is it that I know what stage they're in? So I have, as I mentioned, an intake form. And on that intake form, I really look to their answers to see where they land. And again, if someone doesn't even return the form to me, they're pre-contemplative. If someone answers in the general, kind of cliches, I know they're contemplative. If someone gives me a little bit more information and can really do some self-assessment in answering those questions, they're probably in the preparation stage. When they finally order and we get them in the group, they're in the active stage or the action stage. And what I want to do is then move them to maintenance and help them to become a part of our team. So I'm going to actually give you those questions. And again, I got to shout out Andrea Crowder on that, because she is the one who, from whom I got these questions, and you can adapt them. The way that I share them is I made a form on my blog. And so I just send people a link, and once they fill it out, it, comes straight to me. But I do think it's important to understand that while our focus is definitely fitness and nutrition and support, sometimes I want to flip that on end and say support and fitness and nutrition, because until the internal behaviors are identified and addressed, sticking to a fitness and nutrition routine for a lot of people is going to be very difficult. And that's why I set this up for my team, to help them learn how to ask questions, to ensure that they were bringing on new customers who were definitely ready to roll, as opposed to feeling that pull, and it's an uncomfortable pull, to have to talk someone into getting started. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do for you guys is share those questions in a Google Doc, and I will put it in the comment thread below. And if you've got any questions about how my team operates with this 30-day group, or what we do in the invite process in terms of like when we ask these questions, and again, how we discern from that point on where we take someone for their next step, whether that be, I call it good, better, best. Best obviously being challenge pack, better being at least, Beachbody on Demand or Shakeology, and good being, let's just get them on something to get them going. If you want more information on how I then take the answers to their questions and then discern what the appropriate step is, I'd be glad to answer that too. But just know that there's a lot going on with people. Beachbody recognizes this, and they're coming out with 2B mindset, right? They recognize this, that it can't just be all about fitness and nutrition before really identifying some things that help those behaviors stick. I want to get people unstuck. I want people to find peace, hope, freedom, and sustainability. I don't want people to be on a roller coaster. And in order to do that, I have to know my stuff. And I have to know how to talk to people and ask them questions, and then provide a solution for them that is appropriate and unique for them. And that's why I do the questions, and that's why I really think through these stages of readiness and whether someone's ready to work with me. I hope that's helpful to you guys. I've been talking for 30 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go get that question Google Doc for you. I'm going to put it below. And if you've got any questions going forward, Mindy, keep me on the wall for a little while. And if anyone has questions, I'd be glad to answer it. Okay? Thanks, guys. It was great to talk to you today. Take care. Bye.